get about 15 minutes with you guys this morning. And, hey, thanks. One fan. Woo! That was awesome. So I began praying. We'd been talking about this conference forever and ever and ever, and the girls have been pressing me. They're like, what are you going to talk about? What are you going to talk about? I'm like, I don't know yet. I don't know. And so last week in one of our meetings, they're like, so what are you going to do? And I was like, either I'm going to do one of the things that I normally do at women's conferences across the country that God allows me to speak at. It's called Real Girls Serving a Real God. And a lot of times in our world, it's hard for us to be just real women. Women walk into a room and there are assumptions made about us, and most of the time, they are not true, right? So I do this thing called Real Women Serving a Real God, or Real Girls Serving a Real God, and I said I'll either do that or I'll do what God puts on me Friday night to say on Saturday morning. And so that's not a lack of preparation on my part, although I could see how y'all might think that. It's a spiritual thing, really. It's that part of me that longs to listen to a God who speaks to me. Because the Bible says that God waits for us in quiet places. That's awesome. That God waits for me. And so last night during our quiet time, I began to pray, God, I need to know what you need said through me tomorrow. Let me be a mouthpiece for who you are. And then my ADD kicked in. Let's keep it real. Right? So, chicken. So I looked up, and as I looked up, this sign caught my vision. Because it's stunning, right? Ladies who decorated in here, y'all did a fabulous job. I am so glad there are like artsy people up in this world, because that is not me. If it cannot be bought, it is not made in my home. So, anyway, I began to look up at this sign, and I told you my ADD kicked in, right? So I thought, ooh, I want to go up there and trace that with my finger. Right? Nobody else thought that? Anybody? Anyone? No. Okay. So thank you. Thank you. Dixie, I knew I loved your mom for a reason. So I did. I just wanted to come up here. And so mentally in my mind, I began tracing these lines because I knew it would make me happy just to be able to touch them. Because you see, part of my world that most of you don't know about me is that I'm a teacher of teachers by day. I'm a doctor in education, and part of what I do is teach people how to teach math in a better way, because I could say, how many of you have a passion for math? And I would get 2 people, which tells me that we don't do that right? So anyway, that was a side note. It was the symmetry of the whole thing. It was that math brain that kicked in, and I thought, I just have to touch that stuff. I have to touch it. And so then I saw this word, red, and I said, oh God, you do know I like a little sassy red, don't you? And he said, yeah, Teri, I do. But when I see red, I see the blood of my son that was spilled out on a cross so that those ladies could be in this room at this moment and hear me speak into their spirits. And I said, oh God, thank you. Thank you for that. And then I saw this word, store. God, you do know I like to shop a lot. Probably way too much. It's an obsession, but we won't talk about that now. And God said, yeah, Teri, I know you like to shop. And you shop in some pretty good places, girl. I'm like, thanks, God. He said, but what about my verse that says, do not store up for yourself treasures on earth, but store up treasures in heaven where moth and rust cannot collect. And I said, yeah, God, I know. And I'm trying to get there every day. Because there's not anything on this earth that can't be taken away from me. Trust me. See, if I would have gotten up here with this cardboard sign yesterday, my cardboard sign would have said abandoned, abused, husband committed adultery, child out of wedlock, none of that was mine, divorced, found the love of her life, widowed. Nothing in this world can stay forever. It all can be yanked at a moment, and you can wind up with nothing but thousands and thousands and thousands of broken pieces. But see, there is this God who is all about some super glue. All about some super glue. And he can take all of those pieces as they lay on a ground, and he goes, you know what? I recognize those because I made those. And I am the potter, and that clay can be remolded. And so he picks it up and he begins to mold a new vessel. And trust me, I stand before you as a cracked and broken vessel, girls. I got cracked so deep that you can see air on the other side. But God still uses broken vessels. Just because you have pieces missing, or you have cracks, or you have shattered parts, doesn't mean that you're not still useful. Not still useful. He can plant things in you and throw you in the ground so that nobody ever sees your cracks. But they sure see what comes up as living and breathing and moving out of it. And so I look back up at the word and I said, God, thank you that at 9 o'clock you're giving me what I need for 9 in the morning. I appreciate that. Wait for some prep time. It's awesome. And then I see this word to. Little bitty tiny word. But in that, God dropped into my spirit. Run to me. Cling to me. I wait for you in quiet places. Come to me. And so I settled my ADD back down and I began to pray. God, show me every word that you need me to see. And then tell me what it means. And then I got or. And I thought, because you know what? It's the ors that get this girl in trouble. Right? It's the ors that get me in trouble. It's the choices that I make that get me in or keep me out of trouble. All my life. So, I can do this or that. I can be this or that. I can stand in the world or on the cross. Because see, this is the deal. If I were to step down here and I had a globe and I had a cross, if I put one foot on this globe, what's that globe going to do? Spin. And if it spins, I will never, ever, ever be able to get footing that lets me hold. It will always make me fall. But if I step over and I step on the cross, one foot on each side, and I stand, I am firmly planted. So there can be no this or that. It's about that. I can't have an or. That or gets me into trouble. And then I saw this E on the end of that or. And at that moment, in my brain, I literally heard Spencer Dunlap go, it's this little giddy laugh, because that's a science geek thing. And he would have been so proud at that moment, because ore is a metal. It's a precious metal. But the precious metal of ore has to be pressed so that what is important and worthy and called a noble metal is brought out of it, and what is waste is put aside. God, I want to be that precious metal. And he said, Teri, it's really simple. If you want to be the precious metal, then you need to rest in me. All you who are weary and heavy laden, come and rest in me. God, help me to sit. Help me to rest. Help me to be in the midst of who you are, because I want to be restored.
Good morning.